And now, an interview with Cedric Jones.
My name is Max Strauss with ProInterviews.org, Facebook.com/ProInterviews, and Twitter.com/ProInterviews. Please be a part of Pro Interviews. I'd like to welcome you to the interview with Cedric Jones. Cedric is known as one of the all-time greatest wide receivers in Duke history. He was team MVP and captain during his senior year. Jones then entered the NFL draft in 1982 and was drafted in the third round, 56th overall, by the New England Patriots. Throughout his 9-year career, he was known to be a possession wide receiver. He was defeated in his only Super Bowl appearance. Let's get started with this interview, and I hope you enjoy the collage also. What do you do now that you're not in the NFL?
When I retired, I first worked in finance down in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then I worked 14 years at the National Football League headquarters in marketing from 1993 through 2007. And since then, I've been the athletic director at the New York Athletic Club in Manhattan.
Have you ever thought of using social media to connect with fans?
No, not really. I'm kind of the generation... a couple of generations after social media, but I like the platform. I'm on Facebook and some other pages. Now I see Twitter and all these things going out there, and it may be a tool. I've never really thought about it.
Let's go back into the beginning. If you didn't end up playing football, what'd you plan to do?
Well, to go to law school. When I graduated from Duke University, to go to law school and hopefully become a lawyer.
Did you have a childhood star?
Yeah, I was a big Cowboys fan. I liked Roger Staubach, and the receiver I liked was Drew Pearson.
What was your high school football experience like?
Very good. I was a four-sport star in high school. I played football, basketball, baseball, and ran track, and football was probably the sport I liked the least. We were a very good team, undefeated my freshman year. Worst year was sophomore year was 7-3. Then we went 9-1 and 10-0. So very good experience. Lost in the state semifinals a couple times and lost in playoffs. But I had a good high school experience.
What was the transition like from high school to Duke?
Very different. I went to a small high school in eastern North Carolina. Halifax County is the county, and it was probably the 100 counties in the state. It probably was ranked 99th as far as illiteracy and poverty. So it's a different county, but the high school I went to was a good high school. Was sending kids to 4-year institutions, and we had some great teachers. But the transition was a little difficult because most of the kids at a school like Duke is very much like Mercersburg. A lot of kids have gone to, preparatory schools and great high schools, and they were prepared for the college experience. I had to catch up a little bit, but made the transition my freshman year, and I really enjoyed the experience.
What was the hardest thing to do at Duke that you weren't prepared for in high school?
Well, first, academically, the writing curriculum there, I was at a high school where theater and drama was the main focus, and writing was not, so I had to catch up on writing skills. Also, and then to compete in the classroom, when you come from a small high school and you attend a school like Duke or Stanford or a place like that, an Ivy League school, you're probably one of the smarter kids in your school. And you get to a school like Duke, and then everyone is as intelligent or more intelligent than you are, so you have to adjust to that. Athletically, to gain strength, I only weighed 160 pounds when I graduated from Weldon High School. I was 6'1", 160 pounds, so I had to put on some size. I gained about 20 pounds my freshman year. Had to get stronger, so I got in the weight room and just learned to compete on a level where everybody was as talented as you were, or more.
Do you have a favorite memory from Duke?
Let's see. Probably my senior year. We had a winning season. We were 6-5. It was the first time Duke had a winning season in 17 years, and I made second-team All-American. But it was the culmination of a great freshman class that I came in with 22 freshmen, and 11 of them were North Carolina students. So it was a good time, and that's probably my best memory.
What was the most important thing you learned at Duke that helped you in the NFL?
I was fortunate that Steve Spurrier came to Duke as my offensive coordinator for my end of my sophomore year, junior and senior year. He taught us how to run. He had been a pro quarterback, obviously, and coached at different levels. And he instilled a pro-style offense. He taught us how to run routes, how to compete as a wide receiver for every ball, and that you had to catch the ball not only when you were wide open, which you are a lot in college, but you had to catch it with people, on your back and attacking the football and defense. So that helped me when I went to the NFL. I knew how to run pro routes and understood the concept of a route tree and audibles and those types. We had a very sophisticated offense, so that really helped me transition into the professional game.
What was your whole draft day experience like?
The draft was much different when I was drafted than it is now. It was on cable television. I think my parents had to go from Weldon, North Carolina to Rocky Mount to watch it in a store in the mall. I was going out that day to play in a basketball game with the ACC All-Stars. I was a very good basketball player in high school and worked out with a team my freshman year, so I was going on the tour to play in a game. And before I walked out the door, the Patriots coach Ron Meyer at the time called me and said, "We drafted you in the first pick of the third round and drafted you to play opposite Stanley Morgan." I said, "Great, that's great, thanks. I look forward to coming up." And he hung up and said, "Someone will contact you tomorrow and get you up here for a mini camp." So I was excited and was looking forward to a pro career.
So what was the transition like from college to the NFL?
That was interesting. At Duke, I was always probably the top athlete, the best athlete, could run fast and everybody jump higher. When you get to pros, everybody has that type of ability, and some guys are even more talented. Guys like Irvin Fryer I played with and Stanley Morgan were a little faster. But for me, I was learning how to run the routes against quality defensive backs, learning to separate from those defensive backs and catch the ball in traffic. And I became a 4-4 possession receiver because I didn't drop the ball. So everybody has to find their niche. Not everybody's going to be a starter in the pros once you get there. Not everybody's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. So you have to develop and establish a niche for yourself and then excel in that role.
Do you have a favorite memory with the Patriots?
Yeah, probably the 85 season when we ran the table and was a wild card team and ran all the way to the Super Bowl and lost to the Bears. That's probably my favorite memory of, with the guys who were in our fourth year in my class, and a lot of fun, and they just hadn't won much and hadn't had much success at that time, and we were the first team to get there, and that year was probably the most special year of my career at New England.
What was the Super Bowl really like?
Oh, it was the only time in my life that I'd ever been nervous in any athletic event. From grade school on, I'd always was well prepared, and I was well prepared for this game, but it was on a larger scale, larger magnitude, and was nervous. And after the score of the game, they won 46-10. I guess I had great reason to be nervous. But it was a lot of fun. My parents and grandparents and my sister and brothers all flew down to New Orleans, got to see the game, and we had a great time, great weekend. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Some guys play their entire career and never play in a Super Bowl, so I'm very fortunate to say that I have played in a Super Bowl. And at that time, it was the most-watched television show except for MASH. Do
you remember the Super Bowl shuffle at all that the Bears did, and what was your view on that?
It was very cool, very cutting edge, it was very hip. We had a song, and if you probably Google it, the Patriots song is very hokey. The one that we lost, we put it together probably in a week. But these guys did the Super Bowl shuffle song probably at the beginning of the year, or the third or fourth week into the season. They did the Super Bowl shuffle. And it was cool, it was hip, it was rap, and it worked for them.
Who had the most impact on your career playing football?
Two guys, probably Steve Spurrier in college, and then Raymond Berry in the pros. Raymond was a Hall of Fame receiver, and he became my head coach after my second year. And Raymond taught us to become a student of the game, to understand just what shoes to wear, what time of day you're playing, where the sun was, windy, rainy, whatever, how to prepare as a pro. And he talked about winning a world championship every day of our practice and meetings. No one had ever done that, so I'd say he probably had the most profound effect on my career. I've
read a lot of places that you were the prime example of a team player, and what was the influence behind that?
Well, in sports, it's a very tough job for a coach to bring together a team, especially the pros. You bring together talented athletes from all over the country, sometimes all over the world. So you may have an international player, and they're from every socioeconomic background. So the coach's job and his staff is to put together the best team, best members, and everybody has a role. And the quicker you learn that, I think the can be in the pro environment. Because I was All-American, always All ACC, MVP of my team. But you come in, I started for 2 years, and they draft a kid named Irvin Fryer, who is the first pick of the draft. Obviously, he's going to play. And Stanley Morgan was there 5 years prior to me. Stanley, was a potential Hall of Famer. gamer, so you have to learn your role. So, you know, when they drafted Irving went to the other side, and I became the third wide, and I learned every position on the wide receiver. You know, you have an X, which is split in. You have the A-back in the slot. You have a Y, which is tight end in the slot, and then you have the Z. So I learned every position, and also was an emergency quarterback. So I think learning all those positions, being interchangeable. Some guys can't play, you know, different positions. They can only play X. They can only play A or Y or Z. So having the flexibility to do that and the intellect to do that, I think helped make me a team player. And it was best for our organization to do that for me.
Nowadays, the playbooks are so complex, and I guarantee back then they were too. What was it like learning the plays? You had to put a lot of time into that. And
of course, you have to become a student of the game, and you're very familiar with it. You know, everybody in the NFL runs the same thing. The guys still run the same plays that we ran back then. You know, the playbook was 500 pages, but it was something that you had a passion for. So studying it and comprehending it was very easy. Now, obviously, some guys study more than others, and you know, some guys can't coaches and general managers that. A chess match. You know, sometimes you prepare for a team and you're looking at film, and the team defensively is preparing for formations. Sometimes they're preparing for personnel. Sometimes they're preparing, you know, say this is our base defense, we're going to play it. So it's a chess match, and sometimes you guess right in your preparation. Sometimes you're flat wrong in your preparation, but then you make adjustments at halftime. So it's a great chess match when you play a team.
Did you have a nickname when you were playing football?
A lot of guys call me Clutch because I made clutch catches, but yeah, most people call me CJ or Clutch.
What was the most important thing that helped you get through your playing career?
Well, I think my approach and preparation for the season, I was always in great shape, and I think that's probably 85 to 90% of the battle going to training camp. You know, if you have an injury, sometimes injuries are inevitable, but I think when you're in great shape, you been to heal faster and rebound quicker. I was with, you know, a great organization, and then just the desire. And I really wanted to compete against the best in the world. And when you play pro sports, it's the one time I think in life that you can say, if you're playing pro sports, I compete against the best in the world, because guys are the best at their positions in the world. You know, if you're a famous doctor, it's someone's opinion that you're the best heart surgeon, the best cardiologist, you're the best, you know, brain surgeon, the best, you know, orthopedic surgeon. That's someone's opinion, but if you make the Pro Bowl and you lead the league in catches, you're the best wide receiver in the National Football League.
Do you have a charity or a foundation?
No, but I do a lot of work for Beyond the Boroughs. It's a charity that gives a scholarship every year to inner city kids across the country. Provides 5 of those scholarships for kids.
For someone who wants to play in the NFL, what's the best advice you can give them?
Well, the best advice I give high school kids or youth football kids who are looking to play in the NFL is one, understand the game. Use the game, well, the sport of whether it's football, basketball, whatever. Use the sport. Don't allow that mean get a quality education, because you never know what's going to happen. It's great to have a dream. It's great to prepare for that dream, but dreams don't always come to fruition. So if a kid really wants to play, give it everything he's got, and there's always a place to play in college. You know, not play D1, but you can play a D2, D3, and if you're good enough, the scouts will find you. And if you want to work your tail off, become a great player, they'll find you. They'll get an opportunity. So I'd say go for it with all the gusto, but most importantly, they're going to have that education to fall back on.
Is there anything you want to tell fans or anything that we haven't talked about?
No, I just say, for fans of the National Football League and the sport of football, I think it's one of the greatest sports that God ever created, because it's the ultimate team sport. And the fans out there are what makes the sport so great. Now, it's grown exponentially from when I played to now, with things like the draft has become its own brand, the Pro Bowl, just the Super Bowl. And I was just fortunate to be part of it, and I hope the fans feel like when they watch a game now that they get their money's worth.
So one last question. Who's your favorite player to watch in the NFL right now?
Favorite player to watch in the NFL now? It's a tough question. There are guys I like to watch. Probably a couple. I enjoy watching Larry Fitzgerald, the way he works, the way he approaches the game as a wide receiver. Quarterback, obviously, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Those guys are great to watch.
All right. So thank you so much for your time, Mr. Jones.
All right, Max, anytime. You take care. Good luck.
Thank you for listening to the interview with Cedric Jones. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you leave your comments below as well. Please check out my website, prointerviews.org, for other interviews. Like the Facebook page at facebook.com/prointerviews. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/prointerviews. Please subscribe to me on YouTube at youtube.com/prointerviews. Thanks again for listening. Stay tuned for more, and feel free to contact me.